Hello, grade 8s, and welcome to Thuma Mina Teaching. This is your second history lesson for Term 1. In our previous lesson, we defined Industrial Revolution. We looked at the developments in agriculture, in cottage industries, and the triangular trade route. We ended off with the effects of technological advancements causing many people to move from rural areas to the cities. And that is where we're going to start today. This, what you see here, is urbanization. Urbanization is when more and more people move from rural areas to the cities for jobs or better opportunities. During the Industrial Revolution, cities like Manchester and Birmingham faced significant challenges due to the influx of people seeking work in factories. I'm going to go over a couple of challenges caused by urbanization. Let's start with overcrowded housing. The problem of too many people in cities led to overcrowded housing. Landlords tried to make more money by squeezing as many people as possible into houses, leading to dirty streets and issues with sewage in the streets. And then the unemployment crisis. The surge in population caused intense competition for jobs, leading to high unemployment rates. Additionally, the introduction of machines in factories replaced manual labor, making it even harder for people to find work. Poverty struggles. Many people became very poor because they were paid very little for working very long hours, sometimes up to 16 hours a day. Remember, this was before laborers had rights. Which brings me to child labor. This was a very difficult time to be a child. Children were greatly exploited during the Industrial Revolution. Some children were already employed by the ages of 5 and 6, and they worked under hard and difficult circumstances. Here are some reasons why people employed children. Firstly, it was cheap. Employers preferred children for lower wages. Secondly, small size. Children are small and they could be useful for fitting into tight spaces and operating machinery. Thirdly, family needs. Parents send their children to work due to financial struggles. And fourth, industry demand. High demand for labor led to children being recruited. And finally, few regulations. Lack of laws protecting exploitation of children caused people to exploit them. Children were especially employed in textile and mining industries. If you want to write that down, be ready on the pause button. I hope you got it. Now, let's look at what these children had to go through. Let's look at a 10-year-old child in the mines, scared in dark places. Imagine having to endure this. This drawing here is a representation of what children had to go through in the mines. Moving over to workhouses. Another thing that popped up in many cities during this urbanization period were workhouses. Workhouses were set up to help poor people, but they weren't ideal. Residents had to work hard for food and a place to sleep, similar to forced labor situations. All these challenges shed light on the difficult circumstances that urban dwellers had to endure during the Industrial Revolution. Now, let's focus on the working class. Working in factories and mines was tough and often dangerous. Workers, including children, had to toil long hours in difficult conditions. They earned very low wages and struggled to make ends meet. Many families lived in poverty, barely having enough to eat and facing hardships every day. Okay, so what do you think will happen when farm owners and factory owners continue to suppress the working class? You're creating a recipe for rioting, right? That is exactly what happened during the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution started around the 1760s, and in 50 years' time, workers were being exploited at scale. And these workers got really frustrated, and rioting started. Let's talk about rioting in the factories and in agriculture. I'm going to start with the factories. So, workers were sending letters to factory owners pretending to be Captain Ned Ludd. Legend has it that Captain Ned Ludd was an intern at a factory, and he got so frustrated that he stood up and broke his machines. The funny thing is, nobody knew if Captain Ned Ludd ever existed or he was just a fictional character. From sending letters, things turned ugly. For a year, many workers called the Luddites caused havoc, breaking into factories and destroying machines. So those were the factories. Now let's turn our attention to agriculture. Similarly, on the farms, we found the swing riots. And this time, the farm workers wrote threatening letters from Captain Swing, who didn't exist. And here, workers destroyed hundreds of agricultural machinery. So let's get this straight. Think in a timeline. First, no machinery, then machinery. Then people are forced to move to cities, working in factories with more machinery. Factory owners get super rich, the workers suffer big time, workers resist, and then the birth of the trade unions. A union is a group of workers who come together to negotiate better working conditions, better pay, and better benefits for workers. See now, if the worker is part of the union and the factory owner takes on the worker, he takes on the union. See, the union protects the workers. Even today, we still have many unions. You know what? Having a classroom discussion is a great way to end the lesson. Here are a few questions that you can tackle in your class. I hope you now have an understanding of how the Industrial Revolution changed societies during that time and the hardships that were faced by many people. This revolution really changed everything. Thank you for joining me through this enlightening journey of the Industrial Revolution. In our next lesson, we will look at South Africa before 1860. Remember, in the description box, you'll find the link that leads you to our slides and self-marking assessments to test your knowledge. If you'd be so kind, click that subscribe button and thumbs up. See you in my next lesson.